When a future defense secretary can't answer whether America's retreat helps Putin or secures peace, that's not just a policy disagreement, it's a national security crisis unfolding in real time. What you're about to see is Congressman Garamendi forcing Pete Hegseth into the kind of corner that reveals everything about someone's true priorities when America's global leadership hangs in the balance.
On that, sir.
All right, and therefore it must be your responsibility. I want to bring to your attention a statement that the President made in early February. He said there is no reason for us to be building brand new nuclear weapons. We already have so many. You could destroy the world 50 times over, 100 times over. And here we are building new nuclear weapons. And they're building new nuclear weapons. We're all spending a lot of money that we could spend on other things that are actually, hopefully, much more productive. So I'd like to focus for a few moments on one of the most expensive programs at the Department of Defense, the Sentinel ICBM, which is to replace the Minuteman III. The cost of this program has exploded from $78 billion to over $141 billion, not including a new nuclear bomb for the Sentinel and the command and control systems, which would add somewhere $20 to $40 billion. All the while, we have a Minuteman III that can continue to provide the ground leg of the triad for at least 10 to 15 more years, should we cut the Sentinel program.
Well, President Trump is correct to point out that proliferation is very dangerous, but he has also in his budget ensured we fully fund the nuclear triad, every aspect of it, in a historic way. The Sentinel as one leg of it, and that modernization is critically important. As you know, it faces a Nunn-McCurdy breach for being behind, and as a result, it has to be reviewed, but it's incredibly important. And so our budget does look at ensuring to...
Excuse me, sir. So you have made a decision to continue even though the review is incomplete?
The review is ongoing. The investments we've made allow us to continue should the review come out the way we hope it does.
You continue the Sentinel program even though the Nunn-McCurdy review is incomplete. I'd like now to move over to Ukraine. The chairman of this committee spoke very strongly about the Ukraine situation and the necessity of the United States being strong in support of Ukraine. It's very, very clear that a review of what Mr. Putin has said over the last 2 decades, that he is determined to reestablish the Soviet empire, and Ukraine is the current step to achieve that. Ukraine's security is our security, my view, and what is dangerous for Ukraine will be dangerous for NATO and therefore dangerous to the United States. Yesterday, 2 days ago, in response to Senator McConnell, who asked, which side of the Ukraine conflict do you want to win? And you said, the President is committed to peace in that conflict. Ultimately, peace serves our national interest, and we think it serves the interest of both parties, even though that outcome will not be preferable to many in this room, at that time the Senate, and I would also say this room too, preferable to many in this room and many in our countries. Mr. Secretary, when you said that peace serves our national interest, does that peace come from a complete surrender of Ukraine and total victory for Russia?
That's never been a characterization of my statement, sir. We think peace is in the best interest, but I would point out, Ukraine is not the U.S. and Ukraine is not in NATO, and to draw that comparison is to draw one that is not correct. But we hope for peace. We believe peace is in the best interest of the United States of America, and our policies are pointing toward that.
Well, let me go back to what I asked you. Is that peace, could the achievement of that peace through the complete surrender of Ukraine and the withdrawal of U.S. support for Ukraine, is that a worthy peace, and is that peace in the long-term and actually the short-term interest of the United States?
If you look at the billions of dollars that have been invested in Ukraine, you could hardly characterize that as a surrender from the United States. So the existing military front line of troops is as difficult as it is, moving slowly. Where peace ends at the end of that, nobody really knows. But the president has worked harder than anybody else to try to get a peaceful outcome.
Gentleman's time's expired, Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman.
What Congressman Garamendi did in that moment wasn't just tough questioning. It was a masterclass in exposing how someone thinks about America's role in the world when the cameras are rolling and the stakes are real. When he asked Hegseth whether America stepping back from global leadership represents peace or a victory for Putin, he wasn't looking for a policy paper. He was testing whether a potential defense secretary understands the fundamental difference between strategic withdrawal and strategic defeat. Hegseth's silence speaks volumes because the question cuts to the heart of modern geopolitics. When America reduces its military presence or diplomatic engagement, does that create space for peace negotiations and regional stability? Or does it create a vacuum that authoritarian powers like Russia immediately fill? The answer isn't academic when you're running the Pentagon. Every troop movement, every alliance decision, every defense budget line item reflects your understanding of that balance. The reason Garamendi's question was so devastating is that it exposed a cognitive gap that's become dangerous in American foreign policy circles. Some leaders treat American withdrawal as inherently good, assuming that less American involvement automatically means less conflict. Others see American presence as the only thing preventing authoritarian expansion. But the most effective defense leaders understand that the question isn't whether America should be involved, but how America should be involved to maximize stability while minimizing unnecessary conflict. When Hegseth went silent, he revealed that he hadn't thought through this fundamental tension. That's not a partisan observation. That's a professional assessment. A defense secretary who can't articulate the difference between strategic disengagement and strategic retreat will make decisions that either overcommit American forces unnecessarily or abandon allies when they need support most. Both approaches weaken American security and global stability. The broader implication is about institutional competence. The Pentagon oversees a global network of alliances, bases, and commitments that took decades to build. When leadership can't explain why that network exists or how it should evolve, you get policies that either maintain the status quo without strategic purpose or dismantle systems without understanding their function. Neither approach serves American interests or global peace. Garamendi's questioning technique also matters because it demonstrates how congressional oversight should work. Instead of gotcha questions or partisan attacks, he asked a substantive question that any serious defense nominee should answer fluently. The fact that it created an uncomfortable silence suggests either inadequate preparation or inadequate thinking about the job's core responsibilities. The historical context makes Garamendi's question even more pointed. Every major American foreign policy failure of the past century can be traced to leaders who either misunderstood this balance or refused to acknowledge its complexity. Vietnam showed the dangers of open-ended commitment without clear strategic objectives. Afghanistan demonstrated how withdrawal without proper planning creates power vacuums that enemies exploit. Iraq revealed how regime change without post-conflict planning destabilizes entire regions. What makes Hegseth's silence particularly concerning is that these aren't abstract historical lessons. They're recent experiences that shaped current Pentagon doctrine and alliance structures. A defense secretary who can't discuss these trade-offs fluently is likely to repeat these mistakes rather than learn from them. The Putin angle of Garamendi's question also touches on something specific and measurable. Since 2014, Russian strategy has explicitly aimed to exploit perceived American weakness or disengagement. From Crimea to Syria to election interference, Putin's playbook relies on identifying moments when American leadership appears uncertain or divided. When a potential defense secretary can't clearly articulate how American policies prevent or enable that exploitation, it signals to allies and adversaries alike that American strategy may be more reactive than proactive. This moment represents a broader test of whether America's defense leadership understands the complexity of modern geopolitics, where withdrawal and engagement both carry risks and where the skill lies in managing those trade-offs intelligently rather than defaulting to ideological positions that sound good in political rhetoric, but fail in practice.